Plastic pollution is a massive issue that is impacting the world on a global stage, from nations to oceans to people. It affects everyone. In fact, 12 million tons of plastic waste end up in the ocean per year, according to Surfers Against Sewage in July of 2024. So it's affecting the ocean, it's affecting people, because 121,000 microplastics are inhaled by the average person per year, according to Frontiers in Science, September 2018. And then it's also not only affecting humans, the ocean, nature, it's also affecting animals. Over 1 million animals die per year of plastic waste, according to UNESCO in August of 2024. It is killing sea turtles, fish, sharks, whales, and other mammals in the ocean. So across the board, it's affecting humans, it's affecting the ocean, it's affecting our land, it's affecting wildlife. So this brings us to our question today, which is, what are the next steps in handling the global plastic pollution crisis? Well, there are three ways we can address this. The first being to reduce consumption of plastics. The second is to implement worldwide legislation. And the third is to develop and adopt plastic alternatives. Through these three things, we can reduce the plastic pollution on a global scale. So going into our first point, reducing consumption. In order to understand how we can reduce consumption, we need to address the two ways we can do that. The first is by people implementing single-use plastics. The second is recycling. So going into that first part of reducing consumption, that is going to be single-use plastics. Single-use plastics, according to the Wisconsin Center in May of 2022, take 1,000 years to decompose, potentially even over that. So for every single thing, a plastic water bottle that you drink one time, and that's going to take over 1,000 years to decompose. That is an issue. We don't want to do that. So by getting rid of single-use plastics, which can include straws, plastic plates, utensils, just different drinkware, these different things, by reducing that and switching to things that are multiple use, that you can use multiple times, that is a way to reduce consumption. Then another way is by recycling. Now, recycling, some people are like, oh, recycling is not feasible, that's not helping. Well, recycling plastic does help reduce consumption. It does so in a few ways. It reduces CO2 emissions, it reduces energy, it reduces materials such that are used and pulled from our environment. It reduces oil, which that's a big problem, is the pollution of oil when we make plastics. And it's also not taking up our landfills as much. This is according to Buxton Water Co. in 2024. So by implementing single-use plastics and recycling, we can then help to reduce consumption of this plastic, which will help us conquer the global plastic pollution problem. So going into our second reason of how can we handle the global plastic pollution crisis. This is to implement worldwide legislation. Again, implement worldwide legislation. There's a couple ways we can do that. Now, the first one is through the Global Treaty for Plastic Pollution. And then the second one is to gain support among nations to conquer this problem and take steps to address the plastic pollution issue. So going back to that first point of the Global Treaty for Plastic Pollution. According to the worldwildlife.org, this treaty, which has already been signed by many nations, in fact 103 are already fully committed, according to the worldwildlife.org, this treaty bans single-use plastics, it bans hazardous chemicals in plastic, and it also reduces the global plastic production. Now, by adopting this treaty, this will help to handle the global plastic pollution. And then also, not just having this treaty, we also need to gain support, because while already 103 nations are already fully committed, according to the worldwildlife.org, and 175 nations are partially accepting of this, we need to increase this to the max, that every nation needs to adopt this, and we need to gain support across the board that all nations are taking steps to address this plastic pollution. So they can do this by signing that Global Treaty for Plastic Pollution, which will address the different points that I've touched on, such as single-use plastics, recycling, and just the pollution created by plastic production. So we can see by those two things, by implementing worldwide legislation, we will help conquer the global plastic pollution problem. Now this takes us onto our third reason and third way we can help reduce this problem, that is to develop and adopt plastic alternatives. Now there's a couple ways we can do this. One is through hemp's bioplastics, and the other one is by having genuine concern. So going into that first reason of how we can adopt and develop plastic alternatives, there are various plastic alternatives currently out there, but we can work to adopt and develop even more. There's hemp's, there's bioplastics, and these are viable alternatives to plastics according to Plastic Action in 2024. There's also multiple other ways that one can switch from plastic. There's things such as glass, stainless steel, cloth, bamboo, cardboard, ceramics. There's various things that people can do and switch over to help eliminate this plastic waste. And then the second thing is having a genuine concern. People need to have a genuine concern about this issue. Right now in the United States, according to the World Wildlife Fund, 85% of Americans are concerned. But we need this to be 100%. If we are going to reduce plastic pollution on a global level, not just Americans, but across the world, everyone needs to support plastic pollution reduction. So even if we do develop hemp's and bioplastics that would work, we do need to have this genuine concern when we are developing and adopting plastic alternatives. So across the board, there's the few ways we can handle this global plastic pollution, which is to reduce consumption, implement worldwide legislation, and develop and adopt plastic alternatives. So by doing these things, when we ask the question, what are the next steps in handling the global plastic pollution crisis, we can see that there are things we can do across the board, from reducing consumption, working across the world, and then developing and adopting these plastic alternatives. Thank you.